hospitals are dealing with, we are living and dying on political whim. And it can be, the whim can be positive today and it can be negative tomorrow. Now, in my opinion, we have an opportunity here to avoid all of that, but we're going to have to this board needs to make that a priority to move away from, to become independent of those political whims that involve funding. Are we going to do we still need to take that money? You bet we need to take that money. But I think we need to move in a direction to where if that money ever goes away, that we will not be negatively impacted by that. And the way we can do that is to grow our volumes. Well, let me back up. Top-notch care is number one. And to be the best hospital in the state would take care of all the problems we have going forward. We accomplish what we're heading to try to accomplish. We won't have any problems with these political whims, but we need to take care of patient care. We need to grow our payer mix. We need to continue to grow our commercial care. We need to continue to be the trusted provider for people in our market. And we need to tell the story. We need for people to understand what we can do and what we're capable of doing for them. When you look at these numbers in depth, it's scary to think that Congress in Austin or Washington can just wipe it out. And there's no guarantee that we're going to continue to get all these government monies. But the thing about it is we don't have to be totally dependent upon it. If we run this place like a business and take care of our patients, they can keep that money and we will be just fine. But we really do need to focus on that. That needs, in my opinion, that needs to be a focus of this board, is to drill down on that and start moving in a direction to become independent of that. What's your?
I think that Ronnie's right. I think that anything that we have in our business that has uncertainty about it, we need to try to get more certainty towards. I mean, that's one of the good principles, I would say. And certainly our government funding is one of those items. We receive dollars from the state to compensate us in a supplemental payment way for Medicaid patients that we see or other uncompensated care patients. So rather than paying the bills for that care, we're getting supplemental payments to offset that. And I think that there are risks of those programs becoming less and less and less available in the future. I continue to believe that Ronnie's comments are right. Provide good care, be the best hospital in the state, operate efficiently, and grow and serve this market well will help us to become less dependent on those dollars. I guess the other comment that I would make, and maybe I can defer to Carl a little bit on this, I'm not convinced that those dollars really ever go to zero. Just simply because the intention of those dollars are to compensate for Medicaid funding. And so, from a practical standpoint, a significant reduction in those dollars on one hand in supplemental payments may result not in a significant increase, but in some bump in another payment form, from a political standpoint. It might not be dollar for dollar, might not be $1 for 10 cents, but it's a little bit of a teeter-totter, I believe, from a political standpoint. But the tenet is still the same. Operate the hospital and medical center very, very well, provide good care, grow and serve the market. Those success factors will help us no matter what the scenario of the future is. So those would be my comments.
We've increased the ability to use fewer tax dollars by increasing our focus on point system. But we're talking about, you mentioned Medicaid dollars, I'm gonna go, what impact is adding a pediatrician gonna throw in there because of the only pediatrician, we talked about this before, how's that, do we have even a speculation on how that's gonna work? Because those Medicaid patients, they're gonna try to use it, and rightfully so, but how is that gonna affect her practice?
Well, all in all, I believe Dr. Charlie Moorhead's practice is gonna be very successful.
I agree.
I believe it's gonna be very, very successful. I believe we have an obligation as a county to provide care to folks who are underserved. You know, that is a portion of our responsibility. But another portion of our responsibility is to meet the market needs of patients who need pediatric care and are insured. You know, I mean, I think we're going to see a balance of those things.
Because those dollars, you're getting pennies on the dollar. I mean, that's gonna offset her revenue when you look at the
I think that's why the strategic planning is coming up so important.
Exactly.
I think we got a pretty good handle on the present, but the future is still unknown, and there's gonna be changes in the marketplace and vacuums that occur, and we need to be there to fill those vacuums, but we need to plan to do that. And to like I said, we know what we're doing now, I think it's a good job, but what about next year and 5 years and 10 years down the road? We've gotta have a plan to take advantage of those situations, to maximize them, and I think part of that plan should be that we plan as if there were no supplemental dollars. It's harder to work under those numbers, and they'll always be there probably in some form or another, but if you plan as if they're not, you're gonna have a tighter plan, a little more, it's gonna be a little more.
Less risky.
Yeah.
That was my point, because we've gotta do something to offset that. I see a fairly significant chunk of Medicaid dollars for pediatrics, I really do, because it's gonna be the only thing, she'll be the only one that got it. So to offset that loss, because it's just, I mean, pennies on the dollar. But like you said, it's a obligation as a hospital to do so.
But if we, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I believe that, you know, her practice will obviously serve all types of patients throughout the county, but I also think that, you know, she'll have a healthy practice of many other, you know, funding sources. I believe she'll have a mix of
That's
all
gonna be a
funding
tough
sources.
challenge, I mean, that's gonna be a huge vote to get the balance.
Yes.
Anybody, any other comments?
Just the thought that I had was with, you know, providing excellent care, and trying to plan to get away, if you can, like, to be stable regardless. That seems to, like, it's gonna help with recruiting, because if I'm coming into medical school, just pretend, and then, you know, I'm working really hard, and I want to earn a good living, and I want some stability. Well, it seems like, you know, with this hospital, if you get to that point, then you can tell them, I mean, in a sense, we're not so dependent on, you know, political whims. There's stability here, so then if I'm coming in and I've got super good skills and I want to provide excellent care, there's going to be some stability. Most of us know, and not to say anything negative toward doctors, I've worked with a number of doctors as my clients, and they're excellent clients, but they really feel like they're, you know, little gods. And when they can feel really good and stable and make and earn excellent revenue and stuff, I mean, because they work hard to get their education, you know. So anyway, just thinking for recruitment, if you could throw that in there for recruitment, like, we're not really worried about the political whims, because several of my doctor clients have been worried about that.
I think that's where we are now, I mean, we've set and that's how we've gotten the positions we have.
Right.
So, I mean, we're going in that direction.
Right, it's awesome.
I think that, you know, the growing the commercial pay is what we're talking about. Quality of care is what's gonna do that. That's got to be primary focus all the time.
Yes.
You set the bar, everybody benefits. And that drives you to.
Policies should always be our top.
Absolutely.
Our top focus.
Everybody is, and we are well on the way to accomplishing that's going to be the model that's going to work.
And that planning group will look at future office needs and that kind of thing, right? Are we planning that too?
Yes.
And those strategies will include property and what to do to expand there?
How to pay for it.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
how to fund it without debt.
Part of it's gotta be, what's the county gonna look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? You don't wanna overbuild it, and have too much, but you sure don't wanna be underbuilt, you don't wanna be underserviced, because then that, you're not viable anymore. But we need to know somewhat what this place gonna look like 20 years from now.
You know, another businessman in this county said that there was an ACOG report or some report that was put out last year that talked about the corridor between Floresville and San Antonio was gonna look like the corridor between San Antonio and Braunfels in 20 years. Because the property's maxed out up there, and the growth comes this direction. I don't know if it was ACOG or where he got that information, but he's all excited about it. He's planning for the future on this 181 corridor. And if we,
Well, it's on the way to Eagle Ford too.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help a little bit too.
so that's interesting note.
Yes. Okay. We will, as a board, we will zero in on it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Larry and a second by Sam to approve the February summary and financial analysis. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next item under finance is the capital budget review and purchases. The only thing we have this month is a request for a ENT camera for Dr. Faulkner at the Lavernia Urgent Care Center.
That's correct. We've been trying to get, actually, Dr. Parker is very eager to go to Lavernia. He just has one other small piece of equipment that he needs, and it's a specific camera in a total of $15,826. It connects to one of the towers that was already required, and just that's the final piece of the puzzle to get him to, not to get him, but to enable him to practice in Lavernia.
Okay. What is the recommendation of the finance committee?
Finance committee recommended we make the purchase of the camera, and I so moved.
Have a motion by Larry Richardson and a second by Amy Clark to approve the purchase of an ENT camera for Dr. Faulkner at the Lavernia Urgent Care Clinic in the amount of $15,826. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next item of business is signature authority, practical considerations. Those discussed during finance and the signature authority, and that will remain the same. All approvals will remain the same. Okay? So no change in that respect.
We did discuss, because some of these reoccurring costs, and some of these reoccurring checks are, maybe put something together, let's take a look at what those are, so we'll know what you're talking about there, and just to take a look.
Okay. All right, next order of business is to review, consider, and take action regarding the following items related to the district's May 2015 election. The sign-up deadline was May 9th. Excuse me. What was it? What was it?
February 27th.
February 27th, I'm sorry. And in precinct 1, there was no one signed up to run for the precinct 1 position. Marcelo Lejas signed up to run for the precinct 2 position. David Watson signed up for the precinct 3 position, and Amy Clark signed up for the precinct 4 position. as a result, since there are no contested spots, none of these precinct positions are contested, there will not be no need for an election, so we will not have an election. In the case of precinct 1, Sandy chose not to run, so since no one has signed up to run, that the board will make that appointment. Is that in May? Will we do that in May, or will we do that in June?
Sandy's last meeting will be in May, and the appointment will be effective in
June. Okay.
So you have to make it in May.
Make it in June. Make it in June.
What about that other precinct spot?
That is okay. That's the only one
Oh,
open.
Watsonville, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marcelo in 2, Amy in 3,
Okay.
and Amy in 4. So the only one that the board will have to act on is number 1.
Okay, Miller's good.
So, as a result, we will need to cancel the election. So, need a motion to cancel the election.
that we cancel the election.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom Ray and a second by Sam Carter to order the cancellation of the May 9th election. Any comments? Hooray?
Yeah.
The only comment I would make, just, Ronnie, is that this whole proceeding was reviewed by our attorneys, so that procedure was completely followed, and this order of cancellation is a routine item, and it has been reviewed by our attorneys.
Okay, good. Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Dan tried to vote because he likes that number.
Okay. Is there anything else that will come before the board in open session? If not, in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, or the Texas Health and Safety Code, the items listed will be discussed in the executive session.